I missed out on $700,000 of profit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking with Michael Lee, aka Just Maiko, and he's got 52 million followers on TikTok. When I first saw that number, I thought I did something wrong. Maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, but it's true. He's the 17th most followed person on the platform, which is unbelievable. He's also just recently raised $8 million in venture capital for his Web3 gaming company called Joystick. And on the side, he's also building a media empire. Oh, and did I mention he's only 22 years old? Unbelievable creator. We went deep into the past, present, and future of social media creation, trends that we're seeing in the space, the creator economy, Web3, on-chain gaming, and a lot more. It was a really interesting discussion, so let's get right into it. Michael, what's up, man? Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today, bro.
Of course. Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, man. I got to start with this, dude. 52 million followers. Like, do you like that is such an absurd number. I was looking it up. You're the 17th most followed person on TikTok. Damn. You have more followers than Kylie Jenner, Billie Eilish, Mr. B. So the first question is, how does it feel, man? Like, how you probably get recognized all over the place, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, pretty surreal, but at the same time, I've been kind of just doing the same thing I've always been doing, which is just creating, and I'm very homebody, so I don't let everything kind of get to me. I'm very just focusing on what's next, and yeah, that's really it.
I love it, man. So walk me through it. How did you get to where you are? Obviously, you're at 52 million followers because you're an extraordinary talent. You know, you're dancing. You're a purebred entertainer. Like, I love watching your stuff. I'd actually been following you for some time before even meeting you in the Web3 space. So why don't you walk us through like the story of how you became this sensation on the internet?
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it, man. So I've been doing content creation as a creator for about 7 years now, and I started in 2015. So before that, I was really focusing on my dancing career. I was a professional dancer, started in 2012, and around 2014, 2015, that's actually when both my career went professional as a dancer, starting to do music videos and all those things, and kind of choreographing as a choreographer. And that's also when I kind of like got really inspired by a lot of YouTubers. And at the time, I was like, oh, this is sick, because no one saw social media, not even dancing, as an actual like feasible career. And I was always the person to kind of go against the grain. I had a very entrepreneuristic kind of like mindset. And I was like, all right, I see these guys making a career out of doing what they love. And I was like, this is sick. And for me, dancing was at the time, and it still is, was a big passion for me. And I wanted to see how far I could take it, as far as like, making a business out of my passion in my career. And, I kind of went into that, and about a year into social media, I got my first quote unquote big break, where I had like one of the trends go viral, and I think I gained like 100K on all platforms. And back then that was like crazy. And for me, I was like, wow, this is sick. So it gave me a lot of inspiration and kind of like, I guess just like affirmation that like I can do this, and it was possible. And from there, I just kind of continued working on my craft until 2019. And then that's when things really took off with TikTok. So TikTok had its big change in algorithm, where it used to be kind of like they had a team that had to feature videos, and that's how you got big on the app on Musical.ly. And now it changed its algorithm once it was in 2019, to where it was like completely based off of like retention time, engagement, all of those things, opposed to like a person doing it. And that's what really opened the doors for me. So that first week I hopped back on, I gained about like 1 million followers in that first week. And mind you, in this time I had no million anywhere. So it was my first 1 million followers on any platform. And basically by that time I was like, all right, I need to put all of my attention to this platform. Like, this is like the next Vine, quote unquote, because like I missed out on the Vine opportunity, and I was like, I'm not gonna miss this one. So I literally, from that first week, once I hit that first mil, every single video was for TikTok. And moving forward, every week was a million followers added on. So that's kind of how it happened. A few months after that, I moved out to LA, and then a few months after that, I retired my mom and moved my family out with me. And it's pretty much been like that ever since.
Wow, man, that is so inspirational. And you're 22, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's just wild to me, man. That's absolutely insane. Congratulations on all your success, man. And you've done something
Thank
like,
you.
one of the cool things that you did is you found an arbitrage opportunity, right? And like you alluded to, the Logan Pauls of the world, et cetera. They did it with Vine. Before that, it was like the Dane Cooks doing it with MySpace, and then Musically turned TikTok. Really brought up like this new crop of unbelievable creators like yourself and the D'Amelio twins, et cetera, et cetera. So like, did you have that understanding like, hey, this is an arbitrage opportunity. I'm going to go triple tunnel vision into TikTok, or was it just something that you enjoyed doing that turned into something? Or do you see what I mean? Like, was it deliberate?
I knew about it. I knew exactly what I was doing. I think at the time, because I went through a few years of kind of like depression and a lot of things because of just things not going my way with like career or all those things. Like there was a year where specifically I remember the most. I dropped out of sophomore year of high school to help my dad with his business. It was screen printing and embroidery, and at the time he wasn't really there to help me support the business. So he kind of just let this 16-year-old kid try to run an entire business on his own. And for me, I was like literally like slaving hours away, like from 10 a.m. all the way to like 10 to 12 a.m. like literally just to try to get out these orders and just try to work and stuff. And mind you, there was no other workers there. It was just me by myself for about a whole year just doing this. And that was probably where I was like, okay, I am never doing a 9 to 5. Like this is miserable. So at this time, this is where I kind of filled myself up with like podcasts and reading books and audible books and stuff. And I knew that I guess I just kind of like learned a lot on the way. But one of the biggest things was like a lot of people say, oh, you have to, spread out your eggs all in a couple of baskets and this and that. But I learned, especially with all the most successful people, they didn't diversify until they made one thing work. Like they tripled down on one thing, really became a master of that craft, and then once they were finally at a point where they were like, okay, I'm happy with this, then they started diversifying. And that's what I kind of learned and kind of took with me with everything in life, where it's like, all right, you can't be a master of all. You can be and then for me, I was like, TikTok, when it came out, it didn't make sense for me to focus on, oh yeah, let me do Instagram as well and YouTube and this and that. No, I had to go all in on TikTok because I knew that one, it was working for me, and two, it's so much of an opportunity that like I had to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's brilliant. I think that's right. You don't, there's a lot of people that want to be on every platform at once. And, I think it's important being on every platform, and you have different, segmented audiences, and the way you communicate both visually and otherwise on every single different platform should be different. But I agree, man. I've always said, if you find something that's working, double down, triple down on that, go 100% tunnel vision into it. And then when you get to the point where you can comfortably, without compromising that initial platform, move on to these other platforms and start building, I think that's really smart. But what you're doing, I think is genius. And this is why, man, I've seen a lot of creators. I have a ton of friends who are creators, millions of followers, nobody near the size of you. But sometimes they find trouble really, and I hate to use the word because an audience is an audience, but you're trying to sort of monetize their audience, right? And really they're just exchanging their time in exchange for their services towards brands, right? And they become sort of like this commercial sort of mouthpiece for brands. Nothing wrong with it. But I think what you're doing is really smart because you've actually started your own company and you're building your own product called Joystick. And congratulations, you raised $8 million in seed capital, correct? Or was it a Series A?
Yeah, in the seed Series A, we paused, but we got a good amount of funding from there as well.
That's incredible, man. And so I really want to, because I see the Bored Ape merch. Let's start there, man. Web3. How did you get into Web3?
Oh man, it's a bittersweet moment. So I got into it with Gary V. So Gary V, when he was talking about Cryptopunks and NFTs, this and that, obviously I was a follower of him, and I've always been a big advocate for technology and just like evolutionary stuff, and NFTs was clearly the next thing. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I remember seeing how he was like, oh, CryptoPunks is his first one, this and that. So I bought my first one because of him. And I think a few weeks after that, I just kept hearing so much about the NFT market being a bubble and it's going to pop and everything's going to go zero, whatever. Sadly, I listened to it because I mean, at the time, paying $50,000 for a picture of a JPEG obviously like, it didn't make sense. And you know, I sadly paper handed, but I didn't realize, I guess, at the time, like what I was doing, and I think I listed it and I didn't realize it got sold. So a few months later go by, and I hear all these news about CryptoPunks blowing up, and I'm like, oh my god, I think I still have it. Let me go check. I check, and I missed out on $700,000.
Oh, you forgot to delist. Say that again.
I forgot to delist.
Wait, you missed out on what?
I missed out on $700,000 of profit.
Oh my god, dude! Wait, so walk me through it. Do you remember the number punk? It was.
I do not, but it was a punk. I could probably look for it if I really try to dig for it. But it was a female with a beanie and glasses to match me, so it literally looked like me.
Oh man, what'd you sell it
at? I was like, I sold it for like 48,000. I sold it for under profit.
I mean, so it's still bad. I mean, that's still not bad, right? That's incredible, man. What a story.
Yeah, it was wild.
Speaking of Gary Vee, one of my biggest fumbles in the space was I regret this so much, man. When he was coming out with VeeFriends, and I remember thinking ETH was at like 4,000 at the time, and you know I'm just unbelievably bullish on ETH, and I was like, I don't know, man, because he was selling them I think at between 0.5 and 2 ETH a piece for the VeeFriends, and I was like, I don't know, let me wait on this. It's got to come down. I don't think the market's going to sustain. And then VeeFriends just erupted, man. Next thing they were like at 20 ETH, and I couldn't believe it because I knew for a fact that we're going to do well because it's Gary Vee, and it was just another reminder, man. Never bet against the operator. You know, like you always got to bet against the jockey. So, man, that's incredible, dude. But so you're a big collector of Azuki as well, right? Shout out Zaga, that's our guy. What else are you into in Web3?
Honestly, I mean, I think I overinvested. I spent too much money in the NFT market, and after kind of like the crash happened, I was just kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm kind of chilling. You know, like I got into Bored Apes at the time, Mutant Apes. I had a lot of L's. I just had a lot of just other things. World of Women I got into. My biggest L I probably took was Oni Force.
Oh yeah. I remember Logan Paul bought one for like 2 million or whatever it was.
I bought one because of him. And this was back at the time where I didn't understand how to invest or whatever, but I literally spent 50 ETH on one. I spent I think I spent over 100 Ethereum on that project. Yeah. So sadly,
I mean, you have wins and you have losses, man. You know,
but for sure.
Only Force, the hype was insane, and that's why I don't chase hype anymore in the space, man. Because we've seen it. Like now that we're veterans in the space, man, it's like hype is just unsustainable. There's no way you can sustain a level of hype. There has to be product at the end of the hype cycle. 100%. And so I think I lost on Oni Force as well, but it was nowhere near your loss, man. I think it was like 1 or 2 ETH. So, but that's a lot of fun, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And so, but what you've sort of identified now, I think because Joystick, so you're in the world of Web3 gaming, and you think there's a real future there. Do you want to talk to me about that? You know, where Web3 gaming is today and where you think it may be going?
Yeah, 100%. So Web3 gaming is at its fetal stages. We're so early to it all because there's so much new technology that we're trying to catch up to and trying to understand. And currently at this moment, we're just kind of, you know, it's at its experimental stage right now, right? Yep. It's very new. People are just trying to see what is working, what's sticking, what's not sticking, and that's even in the NFT market. But as far as what is to come in the future, Web3 gaming is going to be the thing that really takes over Web3 because the technology is so perfect for its use case that, I mean, we all watched the movie Ready Player One. We all understand how crazy that world was and is, and I think that it is possible, and it's going to be here because technology is not just moving like this, it's actually going exponentially. So literally in 5 to 10 years we can easily see a world where it's like that, and maybe it's not, you know, where it's like we have a desolate like real life, but I think that the VR space and being able to tie actual careers and financial situations with, you know, the metaverse and just anything gaming wise, I think that's 100% feasible because we already have esports, we already have streamers playing, we already have all of this stuff. It's just, it takes 1 second, or it takes one thing to just have a sell button or to have a certain thing to be able to connect a real world economy to a game economy. And I think that's where all the power is. And I think that once people understand that, they're going to be 100% in. I think it's just because of the words NFT. cryptocurrency. People are scared and they hate that because of all of the messaging that's been put out there. But I think that once you kind of either change the narrative and kind of just show them the good positives, and obviously we have to prevent the scamming, we have to prevent all the hacks and all of those things. Once everything's kind of like smoothened out, I think it's going to be a game changer.
Dude, you're so right. And there's a lot to unpack there. Number one, the mainstream definitely has such negative energy towards NFTs right now, especially in gaming, which obviously doesn't make sense. For me and you, we know where the future is headed. It seems very obvious to us because we're educated on the topic.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're playing these games, you're spending all of this. I mean, the most profitable games in the world are free games, and and the way that they make their billions of dollars in revenue are through cosmetics, right? Things that don't affect your gameplay. It's not pay to win. It's purely cosmetic to be able to communicate within these gaming environments. I think that's massive, and people are rejecting the idea of actually having ownership of these items and being able to trade them eventually in the future when we have like this healthy ecosystem of L2s. You'll be able to, the interoperability. I'll be able to go into Fortnite, sell one of my skins for the Fortnite token, whatever it may be, use a DEX to exchange it for, Minecraft token, and then buy items in Minecraft. I think that's magic, and that's coming.
It's
100%.
crazy because people don't even think about it, but this concept wasn't even new. Like if we go back a few years, even more, for the gamers that know about CSGO, I literally had friends making money off of loot crates and selling their gun skins for hundreds of dollars. And I was like, going back to there, that's already this has already been done, and there was no hate towards it. It was literally just there weren't NFT and cryptocurrency involved. It was literally just the word sell skins, whatever. Like I think people just don't understand it. Just yeah, and
Dude, it's been happening forever, man. I once sold back in the day. I played World of Warcraft and I sold my account for like $8,000, and at the time it was unheard of, right? And I remember there was an entire economy based around farming gold, right? Like the economic token within that gaming environment. And I'm like, it's such a glimpse into the future. It's painfully obvious, I always say. But I do think, gamers hate it, the mainstream hate it. I actually don't blame them because, you and I know we've been in the game. Everybody's entrance into Web3, not everybody, but the vast majority of people entrance into Web3, they're usually onboarded by some scammy influencer that does not give a shit about their audience, that just wants to make a buck and transfer money for their wallets into them, or some sort of scammy social media page, whatever it is. As I've been building Metaverse in the early days, it was like a million other Instagram pages that are now all like banned and they've disappeared because their entire purpose was to basically scam their users, their audience. And so like I get it. I get the negative energy. And I think in due time, man, with companies such as Joystick, etc., people are going to start seeing the opportunity. It's going to change. It'll change gradually, so I'm not too worried about it. And I think, for guys like me and you, I think that's part of the part of our job to really reshape the narrative and educate. Tell me about you've also started before we get into Joystick, you've also started a social media presence focus on education, correct? And onboarding the masses in the mainstream. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's called Just Meta. Just Michael, Just Meta. It's kind of
Love
cool. It. Cool little thing. Pretty much for me, I saw an opportunity where there's not a lot of creators in the space that are actually educators, and there's not a lot of educators that are entertainers. And I felt that I was kind of a perfect blend between someone who could entertain and also educate, not talking like a full-on, geek and people not understanding. I think I have a good understanding of both sides to where I can be a solid bridge. So pretty much right now what I'm doing is creating short form videos just to educate people, very easy graphics. And my next ones I'm actually creating this week is I'm creating I'm taking basically what's working, and this has been my entire thing with my entire career. I take what works already in the market and I add something, another viral factor that just makes it better, right? I find something and I just make it better. And for me, I saw that very conversational content pieces, especially in like, for example, like this like podcast where we're just having a conversation and someone educating opposed to just me just talking to the screen. It actually does a lot better because it feels more personable. So what I'm doing is I'm making a short form series where I'm going to be talking to a live Bored Ape, and this is utilizing motion capture. This is utilizing Unreal Engine, all those things, and kind of educating people where it's like they're literally seeing a Bored Ape talk, and it's like, yo, what is this? And all of a sudden they see someone, a likable face like mine that they know, and kind of using both of them to basically teach them about what Web3 is or whatever kind of topics I want to talk about. And from there, once it kind of evolves, hopefully down the line, probably like in a year or so, or maybe less, it just depends on how big it kind of takes off. I'm gonna start the first Metaverse talk show.
Let's go. I love
Yes,
that, man.
sir.
Talk to me. What's the tech stack that you're using? Because I've seen the videos. We're gonna try to feature it in this video. I can't wait to share it on Metaverse. How are you? What software? What programs are you using? But how are you like basically becoming these virtual bored apes?
Yeah. So it's I would say it's a hefty price to get into the motion capture game. Especially, I mean, if you want to get on the level that I'm trying to do. So I use Xsense. That costs about 30K, just off the top. And then to have another actual riggable, usable character, I spent another like 15-20K for that. And
What's that? Is that like mocap specific cameras, or is that the little the mocap things that you
so
put in?
Xsense is it's like a full on tracksuit, and pretty much from there's like a whole bunch of it's like a wetsuit, right? Think of a wetsuit, but inside there's a whole bunch of just like these markers and these counters, and essentially it goes into your computer and it goes into their personalized software, and then from there you can export it into like Unreal Engine, or whatever else you use, and Unreal Engine is pretty much the main one, and from there you're able to kind of create literally whatever you want.
Insane. So how long would it take you? I mean, like when you have like these 30 to 1 second clips on IG, is that what's how long in general would that take to create?
Ooh, well, I have done something with my team where my entire setup has been streamlined. So pretty much now when we set up, our first time, basically the setup takes the longest of the process, but once we finish that, it should really take no longer than 10 minutes to start pumping content out. So for me, every day or every week, I'll have one day where I specifically make like 8 to 10 videos with the Bored Ape and myself and knock it all out in probably like 3 to 4 hours and just be done with that and just kind of like rinse and repeat.
Unbelievable, man. And so then you have a team just kind of like spacing it out through the week when it posts the content and whatnot.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
platforms are you creating a new platform? Is this just going to be under Just Meta, or are you going to tap into the Just Maiko brand on TikTok, YouTube, and beyond to do this on?
Now, I think that the way that we onboard people is really important, and the strategies to use is just kind of like it's a little bit more specific. So I'm creating the separate brand Just Meta for the people who want to learn about Just Meta. Let the videos go viral on its own, kind of like let its audience kind of like naturally seep in. And for me, with my personal brand, I think that it's important to kind of tease what NFTs or tease what the Web3 is, but not fully just like throw it in your face, because I already know right now the sentiment is not positive. It's very just like, if I say the word NFT, they're instantly disliking it, so for me, it's kind of like what you see in my dance videos with the Bored Ape is like, I'm not talking about NFTs. I'm just utilizing something that's cool with it. And you guys have seen it with like Snoop Dogg, Eminem, utilizing an IP like Bored Ape, for example, making a cool piece of content that's entertaining and kind of piques someone's interest. So once they see it more and more, they're like, okay, what is this? Then all of a sudden we have a whole funnel of like these videos and this channel for them to now learn about it themselves, opposed to me telling them flat out.
I love it, man. I think that's the right strategy. When creators come talk to me and they say, hey, how should I get into Web3? I'm like, start where it's sort of accepted, which is Twitter and Discord. That's where we're largely like, having these discussions and everybody's really learning and growing with one another in Web3. And I think it's important to segment your audience in that way, so it's smart, because you don't want to go on your TikTok or Instagram or YouTube right now and be like, everybody buy this NFT, because you would get slammed, obviously, man.
Yeah,
People
for
be
sure.
like, just Maiko, he's here for the money grab. This is a complete scam. Nobody gets it. So I love the way that you're approaching it, man. Start with the education, and slowly, as public sentiment shifts, then you can start incorporating into your main brand. Dude, I think that's a brilliant strategy.
Thank you.
So Joystick, why I find this so interesting is because, and you're probably more studied on it now, but Axie Infinity I thought was one of the most interesting case studies I've seen in a while in the world of technology.
100%.
Unbelievable. So what was happening is the entry price to get into Axie, in order to play the game, you had to buy an NFT, right? And that NFT at one point it got, I think the lowest, the floor was like $800, right? And so what people discovered is like, hey, there's a lot of people in these emerging markets, the Philippines, South America, and beyond, who who want to play this game, but they may not have the economic power to actually participate, to get in. So people were developing these funds where they'd buy a lot of these characters, and then they'd offer them, they'd loan them to these players. They'd play, they'd make the money back, pay it back, and then they're off on their own. And so I think that's essentially like the idea behind Joystick, correct?
Yeah, so it's more of just one of the pieces of Joystick. So I kind of look at Joystick as the entire next generation gaming ecosystem, right? It's not necessarily something that's been done before. It's more of just like an entire encompassing of like, all right, you want to get into gaming in Web3, we're going to provide all the tools you need to get into any field you want. So we're trying to help people with education, with teaching them how to become esports players, streamers, guild leaders, just gamers in general. We want to kind of, or educators, we want to kind of provide all the opportunities for them to be able to decide what they want to do. And one of those things with, what you were saying, that's called the scholarship model, right? That was made with the Axie community. That's kind of how people have been doing it. So essentially, they'll send out, say if, I'm someone who doesn't have any money, but I want to play Axie and you're a guild, you would typically, like you said, lend it out to me for free, but in return, I would have to give you 50-60% of my revenue I make from using the asset. And pretty much that's how we kind of make our deal. And that's kind of like how it's been working in the Web3 space. But for Joystick, we saw this and we thought we could actually basically enhance and evolutionize this strategy and flip it on its head. And basically, instead of using a scholarship model where we do percentage, we actually do a rental fee where it's more of a flat rate, and it's basically we have a system where it's algorithmed where we understand how much you can make with this NFT, and we're going to charge you this much at the end of the month. And essentially from there, they will have, instead of having 40 or 50% of their revenue cut off, they'll have basically no cap, and they'll be allowed to use it, and they basically can earn more money. And for us, it's just a lot easier to basically maintain overhead, because it's just, instead of like trying to nitpick, oh, this is 40% of this or 60, it's a lot more work because it's more manual. We're able to kind of systemize everything and basically expand it larger because we're doing it at such a systematic level.
I love that, man. What are your thoughts on the current state of Web3? Like, thoughts on the current market? And obviously, you're in it for the long term, and you have long-term vision. One of the things about Axie, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it, but I thought Axie it was such a glimpse into the future. I said, holy shit, this is game-changing, right? But the one thing that, in my opinion, it's subjective, I just didn't think it was a fun game. I just don't think it's a fun game. And part of gaming is like, people don't want a game to grind to make money. People don't want to game, like, people want a game to escape, right? Yeah. And so I think for Web3 gaming to really hit like this critical mass, this watershed moment, it just has to be integrated naturally into the game. Are there any games on the horizon that you're really bullish on? Web3 games that our audience should be taking a look at?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely the first one that's been making a lot of waves has been for sure the game. Oh, there's two games. The first one is called Big Time. We're actually the biggest landowner in Big Time. That's what Joystick is. Yeah, so we've been really, really helping and pushing just the narrative of what games could be like. And I think that Big Time's definitely a major step in that direction, just because of how it was the first, it's the first, what's it called? I'm trying to remember the term for it.
Big Time is like battle royale, right? Like an on-chain battle royale.
It's kind of like that. It's like a battle. It's not a battle royale per se, but it's more of a it's like an open world where you go into these dungeons, fight these monsters, kind of collect the loot. That's kind of like the premise of the game as of right now. But it's the first game that is AAA. There you go. It's the first AAA game of Web3. Yeah. So that's the first one, and I know that there's actually a lot of games I'm actually looking at right now. Another one is made by my friend, and the game is called Nyan Heroes. Have you heard of it?
I have not, but I'm gonna look it up after this. How do you spell it? Nyan Heroes?
Yep, Nyan Heroes, exactly. And pretty much what it is the concept is a battle royale of these giant death mechas, right? And they're piloted by cute little kittens. So it's like a super sick kind of like thing. And if you look at the gameplay, it's really sick. And I'm really, really excited for that one. That's going to come out probably in the next year or so. And I also know of another game that I'm currently working with one of my friends, Michael, with Lethos, and the game is called Ashfall, and it's going to be the first PlayStation game that's integrating Web3 NFTs into it. So
No
it's
kidding.
like, yeah. So
How's
there's
that going to work though? Because on PlayStation, there's no native wallet, or how do you integrate the blockchain into it?
I that's a question for him. I'll connect you guys
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
awesome,
But
man.
yeah, I just know that that's what they're building, and he's done games like God of War and like all like the
Wow.
major PS5 games, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So I'm definitely interested to see how he's gonna kind of like maneuver and kind of work on that space. But I think that just hearing things of this nature, it's these are the games that for me personally, I'm like, this is dope, this is fun, this is where it doesn't feel like a job per se. It's like
Right, right.
actually
Yeah.
this is a real game, you know? So I think that hearing that, I know that there's a lot to evolve in the space, and we're just in the beginning.
How about Alluvium? Have you kept your eyes on that? Because I hear so much chatter about Alluvium, so I wanted to get your thoughts
I
on that
have
one.
not actually. I mean I've been kind of I've heard of it for a very very long time, but I'm kind of just seeing how it's gonna kind of pan out right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the games, and this is probably a critique for majority of games that are trying to be made right now. Um, the only reason why people will play and buy your game, is the emotional connection that you have with the games, right? When we talk about things like IP, I think it's so important to build entertainment around your IP, and that's with story, that's with and that's really with storytelling, right? Whether it's in gameplay, or whether it's with manga, or whether it's with a TV series, or whatever the case may be. I think that if you just bring out a game and you're like, oh, like I want you guys to love this character, but there's no way to actually find a connection with the character, it's really hard to resonate with it and grow with it. So for example, Alluvium seems like it reminds me of Pokemon the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing about Pokemon is Pokemon has TV shows, it has games, it has all of these things to really connect you to each little character, and it builds a story. But with Alluvium and with other games right now, I haven't seen much of that focus that much focus on the IP route. And I think that it's really important that games not only make a fun game, but also build a way where it's also, where they can connect with the characters.
Completely agree, man. And let me get your thoughts on this. Tell me if you agree. One of the things, gaming is tricky, right? Because it's not, I mean, it's not easy, but it's fairly simple to create an incredible teaser, an incredible preview, right? You build it in Unreal Engine,
Yeah.
whatever. You have some awesome designers and developers. But actually creating a game that's fun, that that a lot of people want to play and will play for a long time, that's sticky, is very, very difficult. So what I've seen in Web3, a lot of people come out with a sick teaser, and then they have a land sale, then they have all this other stuff, a token, underlying token. People go crazy to buy it up. The game comes out, and it does not live up to the promise of the teaser. And so how do you have a system to try to identify like games coming up? Is it the team? Is it previous accomplishments and work? When you're looking at these games,
100% the team.
the team, 100%.
Yeah,
Got it.
I would 100% say the team. If they're coming out with a game, I want to know what games they've made in the past, so that I know that. Yeah, because exactly what you said. Like, it's hard to understand what type of games they're coming out with if we have no idea what their previous work has been or what their experience is. Because
So well
if
said, man. I
someone
love that.
says, yeah, if someone says, yo, yeah, I created Fortnite, I'm gonna make a Web3 game. I'm gonna for sure, like it's like kind of like a no brainer when it's that far in the game, and for me to invest big bucks, I think that it's important to have a team that you can trust, to invest in, to know that they're not just kind of like rug pulling or doing whatever.
100%.
They know what they're doing. It's just a rinse and repeat type of thing.
So here's a question for you, and I think this is important. If you're a gamer and you're either not really paying attention to the Web3 world and the world of on-chain gaming, or you think it's a scam because you haven't really done your research into it, what would you say to a gamer today that is interested in learning a little more? Like, what should their next steps be?
I would say just kind of keep up with the space. I think you don't need to fully dive in and be a part of it as of right now. Like, you don't, like, it's just like there's certain mediums that you can kind of follow, certain creators, certain companies that you can kind of just watch and keep on your radar, so that when the opportunities arise, you obviously are aware of it. But I don't think that you have to spend your money right now. You know, invest in all of this stuff into everything just because people are like, oh, it's the future. But it may come in 3 years, it may come in 5 years. Like we have no idea what the timeline is for this stuff. But I think that if you want to stay updated, follow people that have good intentions and that can, you know, that are providing. Obviously, Metaverse has been one of the biggest you know, brands that you guys have been doing in terms of the education and kind of like the updates in the space. And I think that's, you know, you guys are super well trusted. I think you guys have done really, really well at building your brand and just kind of following other creators that, you know, are taking it slow and bringing, I guess, you know, the information to you as well as possible, and not just kind of going for the hype things like, oh, like this is going to pop off, buy this now. Like stay away from things like that, and more of just kind of take your time with learning everything.
So if you're a gamer, you love gaming, you want to stay updated into this world. I appreciate what we said on Metaverse, but you know, we cover a whole wide range of topics. If you just want to stay updated on Web3 gaming and learn more, besides just Maiko on all socials, besides just Meta, the E is a 3 on all socials, are there any other individuals, companies, brands, etc. that you recommend people following?
I would say Gary V. He's a easy go-to, you know, person that kind of is he's very well respected in the space. He's kind of had a very good track record of everything, and from there, just the people that he kind of associates himself with, I think he's very smart with that. So yeah, I would definitely say Gary V for sure.
The last thing I kind of want to talk about, man, is the creator economy. I think you know, I talked about it with Koopa Troopa on the last podcast on how there is this generational opportunity for artists to enter Web3 because there is an arbitrage moment. But beyond that, or just to take it back a little bit, TikTok, what are some of the trends that you're seeing? Like what's working nowadays? What's not working that used to work? You know, what are some of the interesting trends for somebody that wants to build an audience on TikTok? What would you suggest?
TikTok is a melting pot. TikTok, honestly, there's so many niches that are available and so many different communities on there that honestly anything you want to do, it could work on TikTok now. I think that the only thing is that the bar is a lot higher and there's just a lot more competition. So with that being said, I think that the opportunity on TikTok, YouTube Shorts as well, any short form content is very, very good to have your first push of exposure. And then from that, I think looking into longer form content is probably the way to go. For me personally, I've seen that, and it obviously just makes a lot of sense. The more time that someone invests watching you as a creator, the more time and the more loyalty that they're going to have for you, right? So if you watch one video of a YouTuber for 15 minutes, and then you watch 10 videos of a TikToker that's 15 seconds, you automatically you have more time watched and put into that YouTuber. So I think that if you, in terms of loyalty and sustainability and long-term goals, I think that it's important to look for long-form content after you kind of got your spark of short form and, you know, your audience to start off from.
Dude, I think that is so well said. And something I wanted to ask you about, I mean, there's this idea right now, like community is one of the most invaluable things you can possess on the internet, because capital cannot buy community. Community is built step by step, brick by brick. It has to be completely organic or it doesn't work. But there is a disconnect, right? There is a separation of the idea of community and an audience. And I think there's a lot of creators out there, a lot of incredibly talented, amazingly entertaining creators that have an audience, not so much a community.
Yeah.
There is, like, for example, if you were to leave TikTok and go to another platform, you have a community. People are going to follow you wherever you go. They want Michael. There's other creators who are, and you're right, I think it's a short form content where you don't really create that. Like, there's a lot of people I follow on TikTok that if they left tomorrow, I would never notice. I'm not going to go chase them elsewhere on other platforms. And so I was going to ask you that, but I think you've already answered it. So you think long-form content, in order to develop those relationships, to really build community and a true fan is the key?
Yeah, 100%. I think that, I mean, it's already been tested. We're already seeing it pan out even in the last 2 years. You know, like people can literally have 1 million followers on TikTok and it kind of means nothing in a sense, you know? Yeah. Because, people have an audience, but they won't have a community. And I think it's important that once you build an audience, to then nurture that community to grow it. Because even for me, I was focusing on building a bigger audience for so long, right? And I think that I lost the personal touch of having a real community as strong as, like yes, I can have a following as large as, I don't know, Billie Eilish or someone like of whoever else, PewDiePie or whoever you can think of, but they have really solid communities where they're able to, yeah, like you said, do as much as you can, or kind of, follow from platform to platform. They listen to whatever you say, and I think for me, that's what I'm really focusing on for the next 5-10 years of my career. Just kind of like enjoying myself, enjoying my content, and being a lot more personable, and then doing that's why I started so many different channels. So I have like my main channel, my second channel, my gaming channel, my family channel. I'm like finally putting a system in place that I can do all of these videos and just have more of me out there, so that I can now connect with my fans a lot more than just 15 seconds on the platform.
Dude, I admire the empire you built, man. I mean, I think you've laid out the blueprint. You've identified what you're good at, what you love. You reel people in with the short form. For you, it was dancing and entertainment and all the really adorable like family time that you have. Is that your little brother, by the way, in your videos?
Yeah, my little brother.
Oh man, he's a future star, dude. That's a superstar.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you've done it the right way, man. That's how you bring people into the Just Maiko sort of ecosystem, right? Like that's how people get to know you, and then you funnel your audience into these different. You have the long form content. Now you have Joystick for people interested in Web3 gaming. I mean, I just think you've done it so right, and you're a brilliant use case on like like a model for budding creators to follow.
Thank you.
Do you have any more advice for creators today? Because I know there's going to be some creators watching you that really admire your career progression. What would you say to creators today wanting to break through on social media?
I would say start off honing in your mindset. I think that mindset and your mental is so important in getting in this space, because of TikTok and because of the last few years of so many people blowing up and breaking through and all of that stuff. People think that social media is easy. People think that social media is super fast, and it's like, oh, I can get big in a year, or I can get big in a month, or whatever, right? And I think that people lose it, and they don't realize that the people have been, that did blow up or that did get larger. I wasn't on social media for 1 or 2 years. I was on here for 7 years, and it took 5 years for me to finally get to, maybe it was like this, and then all of a sudden it did that. But it took those 5 years of me learning and honing my craft to finally be able to take advantage of that opportunity when it came. So I think that for you as a creator, if you are listening, it's very, very important that you know what you're doing and why. Your why is so important. And if your why is money and fame, you're not going to get to where you are, because you're going to burn out. If your why is based off of passion and being able to grow and all of those things, that's where you'll find your it factor, and then that's where you'll be able to thrive long term.
I love that story, man. People see these overnight successes and they don't realize it's an overnight success 10 years in the making. They just see that. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I always see that. And your story is so inspiring, because one thing that I've noticed amongst all successful people, there's a lot of variables, but there's one constant, and that constant is hard work, man. And so your story of working at your dad's shop all day, every day as a teenager, coming up, spending 5-6 years on these platforms, just like creatively expressing yourself before you actually blew up. I think that's an important story for people to realize, man, because I've seen it myself. Nobody has patience anymore. They want it tomorrow, and it's not going to happen like that. It just isn't.
Exactly.
There's no shortcuts.
100%, man.
Incredible, man. Well, where can we find you on? I mean, shit, everybody knows where to find you. You're just Maiko, but where can we find you on socials, etc.?
Yeah. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. My socials are justmaiko, JUSTMAIKO. People don't realize it's Maiko. It's an Asian way of saying my name, because I have such a basic name. So just Maiko, So that's kind of there. And then for my YouTube, I have Just Maiko Gaming. I have my main channel, Just Maiko. My second channel, now I'm doing like my sit down reaction videos. That's called Maiko Lee. That's my regular name. And then I have my family channel, which is Shlove Family. So those are my 4 YouTube channels. And then obviously I'm building Just Meta. So Just Meta is on all platforms as well. And then Joystick is powering everything. So that's going to be my baby. So Joystick for anyone who wants to, get into it. So definitely check those out.
All right, Michael, before we bounce, man, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, so success has been something that I've been really, really trying to understand and hone in on for the last, I'd say, few months of my life, because I'm going to a new chapter of my life. And essentially, I think that success is not just fame and money. And a lot of people just think like, oh, he's successful, he has a lot of money. But I've learned that even when you get there, there's a lot of people that are, very successful in terms of money or fame or whatever, but they're depressed as hell. And I think that for me, I have a lot of different buckets that I need to fill for me to feel happy with myself, to be successful, right? And that's fitness, mental health, relationship with my family, relationships with, spouse or whatever, friends, and then career. So all 5 of these buckets are super, super important to me to fill. So my schedule kind of like reflects that. So I have my weekends off, strictly no business. It's all friends and family. Then Mondays, going back from Monday to Friday, that's like my kind of like my work schedule, right? So Mondays are pretty much my my planning days. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are my TikTok / main channel days. Thursdays my Web3 Just Meta Joystick days, and then Fridays my Schlub family days. So I have like all of these kind of blocked out schedules, so I'm able to really find time for everything. And then of course working out, I'm just gonna work out every single day. Like I gotta do it in the mornings. So yeah.
Bro, that is brilliant. You are wise beyond your years, my friend. That's Michael Lee, the present and the future. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you're consuming this on Apple Music or Spotify or any podcast platforms, and thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. We got some really, really interesting guests coming up. So stay tuned. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, like. All that stuff really helps a new podcaster such as myself. And if you enjoyed the show, be on the lookout because we're just heating up. This has been a lot of fun. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.